Greetings, comrades, and welcome to the Rad Gaming Podcast. I'm Pescador.
And I'm Jemshi. And in this episode of the podcast, we discuss how a new handheld console is attempting to revolutionize the handheld gaming experience. And then we go into how Amazon is implementing gaming into their own workplace. And then we break down the lawsuit between Tfue and FaZe Clan.
This episode of the Rad Gaming Podcast is sponsored by Tfue. Tfue is a lifestyle fashion brand that sees beauty and cultural heritage and always strives to offer timeless and elegant style. Visit cento-fiore.com to join the family. That's CENTO-FIORI.com. All right, now on to the podcast. Jemshi, did you have a Game Boy growing up?
Oh, yeah. I actually had the Game Boy Advance, SP. I think I went through every generation, actually. And the color.
So you actually enjoyed the handheld experience the Game Boy gave you?
Yeah. I think, now that I think about it, I think that might have been the one that I'm trying to think what console I played more. Was it the handheld ones or was it the,
It was really that separated that it was just so hard to pick between the handheld and the console?
I think I definitely had phases.
Dang.
Where I would be only on the handheld and I wouldn't play any console games.
See, I was more of a console player. I mean, I didn't mind playing Pokemon. I'd play Pokemon and that'd be fun, but I wasn't I don't know. I wasn't so attached to it like the handheld. I was fine. I think it's because one of my old friends that are no longer friends, when I was younger, he stole my Game Boy. And I know for a fact, yeah, he stole my Game Boy. He came over one day and stole it. And
I mean, that'll do it,
Yeah. And then I brought it up to him because I had the Game Boy. It was new. And I was playing it for a while. And, after a couple months of using it, I cracked the one side. And I knew it was there, but it doesn't really look that much different from, a normal Game Boy. So, probably a year had passed since I got the Game Boy, and my one friend came over, and he didn't come over very often, but he did come over, and we started playing with the Game Boy and stuff, passing it back and forth, and then he left my house, and then my Game Boy was gone, and I couldn't figure out what happened to it, and I was frantically looking everywhere like a little kid would, and really upset, distraught. And maybe a month later, I went over to my friend's house and I saw the Game Boy sitting on there. And I had the clear purple case. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Because they came in colors.
Yes.
Back when consoles were different colors.
Yes, right? But he had the clear purple case and it was sitting there on his nightstand. And I was like, wait a second. And I looked in the corner and it was cracked where I cracked mine. I was like, hold on a second. This is mine. This is definitely mine. And I got really mad and I was yelling at him. I was like, you can't, you're stealing my Game Boy. I was so mad. But his mom ran in there and said I bought this for him. I know for a fact. And I know she was lying, but it made me so mad. I never talked to him again after that.
Wow. Even the mom.
There's no way, because there's no way that could have cracked the exact same way mine was. And I knew exactly it was there because I dropped it, it cracked, and I was really upset because I cracked my Game Boy. Because I take such good care of things.
Yeah, you would memorize kind of the crack because you played on it enough. Because
yeah.
Kind of the way the Game Boy was, there wasn't, if it cracked on the screen, wouldn't, it's not the screen went all the way to the edge,
Correct.
There was black border area where you could still see a crack, but it wouldn't be too in the way, right?
Yeah, I was furious, and we stopped becoming friends. We stopped being friends and became mortal enemies, I swear. So, but that was the moral of that story. But the whole purpose of me kind of going back to the past is more or less talking about there's a new handheld coming out, and it's actually made by Panic. Panic's a developer, and I think out of Oregon, I believe. I want to say Oregon, but so the interesting part about this is it's as small as it can fit in your pocket, and it has a little crank on the side that you actually can turn that actually interacts with the games that you play, which is very strange. Yes, it has a little handheld crank on the side. It's been confirmed, so don't look at me like I'm making this stuff up or this is like, as Donald Trump would say, fake news. But I'm being serious. Like, it's a thing. It's yellow, and it's black and white. It has a black and white screen. I can't make this stuff up. It's interesting. But so there's apparently supposed to launch. Was it 2020, early 2020, and then they're supposed to have a total of 12 games that are included in the price, and it's actually set at $150.
What?
Yeah. Would you pay $150 for this different take on a handheld game?
No. Like
just no.
I don't know. Like you're saying it's black and white, and I'm like already thinking like what was it? Like, what is it? A Nintendo Switch is almost like $300, just like double the price, and you get like insanely way more out of the Nintendo Switch. Like,
right? I don't know.
And you could probably, I feel like you could probably even buy like a used Game Boy and a couple games for that price and feel like you get more out of it, like a Game Boy Color. It
was really weird. I watched the video for it, and they were like. They were cranking the like there was a character on there. It looked like a robot almost, and they were cranking it really fast. And he was running the speed that they were cranking the device, and then they would reverse cranked it, and he like backstep. It was really weird, but they do have an A and B button, and they do have a directional pad. But they have this crank that you can actually work with the game. It doesn't. It's interesting. Like I've never seen anything like that.
I know the cranking thing. When you first mentioned it, the first thought that popped into my head was like, "Oh, a handheld game console that you can crank and like charge it."
That's what I thought too. But then I started looking into it, and it's actually interacting with the game. So I was like, "Wait a second, what?" So like it's gonna have all the bells and whistles of everything else. It's like Bluetooth capable and things like that. But like, I honestly, my initial thought was, oh my God, like you can take this like anywhere and crank it up and then play it, which I thought was a cool concept, I guess. But then they're like, it's going to be part of the game.
I know, and it depends on like, does it have like the social aspect? Can it connect to somebody else's handheld device or?
From what I understand, it sounds like it can or could. Like it can connect to Wi-Fi as well and things like that. So I'm assuming eventually you can play with other people, but I don't know. And maybe it does charge it, but in the articles that I read like 3 or 4 different articles to kind of make sure that this wasn't a joke. They didn't say anything about it not charging it, but it said that it interacts through the crank. So like, as in like you crank up the thing, and I watched the video on it. So like when you crank it up, like the character on the screen kind of interacts with the way that you crank your device, which sounds really weird, but that's just what it is. So.
Yeah, I think for me, like I'm coming from like I grew up playing Game Boy and stuff. Like I had like my sibling. I think that's probably why I also enjoyed Game Boy or handhelds more often, because like I had siblings that I could play with like every day. Like I could literally just be like go over to one of my brothers. And
but
be like,
how did that work? Because in my mind, you would have to pass off the Game Boy quite a bit, and the console you could sit beside each other and play like together.
There's like games that you can connect to, like Pokemon.
That's true.
Each other,
I kind of forgot they could do that. Yeah,
like that. And then once like the Game Boy Advance came out, there was a lot more games built with that connectivity, and then there was the wireless. That was the cool thing. When you
I was like, I was gaming back when like connecting was like a tough thing or an annoying thing to set up. So I kind of forgot that concept even existed.
Yeah, see, I think that's the thing for me. It never had a problem with the connection ever, like wired or or wireless. Like it was always flawless every time. And then it'd be even cool because in like road trips or anything that we'd ever do growing up, we'd all just be in the car playing our games wirelessly, battling together, Pokemon double, tag team battles and stuff. Like, so I don't know. For me, that's what I grew up with, and I'm trying to think like it would have to outdo that. And what also
I see it. I don't see it doing that. I think it's an interesting take on a handheld game system, but I don't see it doing too great, in my opinion. I mean, unless they do something crazy with it, but I don't know what they can do. I mean, right now the games seem very simplistic, and I can find, in my opinion, better games playing on like, I don't know, Snapchat games or something.
You can download a game probably just as complex as any that you can get like on your phone probably for free or for $1. You know, like,
yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I think that's the mobile phones has really kind of eliminated that mobile market. Although,
yeah.
I don't know. I do like the controller aspect. Like when you have like a controller, like a manual one, as opposed to a touchscreen controller.
So do
there is. I will give it that. Like I do prefer that. Like with the
agree.
Nintendo Switch, I do kind of prefer having like the actual like Joy-Con and everything to play with. So
yeah, I'd have to agree with that. So I also want to get your take on something. When I say working for Amazon, what pops into your mind?
I don't know. There's either, I don't know. Like for me, there's the cloud service that I also know about, but then I'm thinking there's also delivery. But it's kind of like,
so
it's all warehouse work. Like it's all warehouse
yes.
where all the servers or all the delivery thing is.
Yes, warehouse work, and that's kind of what I was getting at. And I'm happy you said that. And I know this is actually this is the first time I ever told you about this, and I'm really shocked that you came up with warehouse. I thought you were going to pull something really far out of nowhere, but perfect. So warehouse work. They're actually designing games. Amazon themselves are designing games for their employees to play. So the whole purpose of this is to speed up the process of, the warehouse. They feel that by giving them the ability to play games, like when they complete their work or fulfill their, their duty at that point in time, they can stop working to kind of break up the monotony of, doing and packing up things and shipping things out and things like that, to sit back and relax and play a game, make it a little competitive against departments or whatever, and then get them back to work. So I thought it was a pretty neat concept. I mean, other things I heard about Amazon, I heard that they work their employees extremely tough, and kind of by hearing this, it makes me think that that maybe they've heard that criticism and they kind of taken it to heart, and they're like, okay, well, what can we do to kind of help that out? So.
Yeah, because like I can see like, okay, if you're working but you're having like fun playing games, and then I think they're saying that you couldn't really go to the bathroom, but imagine if they had like video games in the bathroom. That'd be hilarious.
Why would they have video games in the bathroom? That means you'd stay in the bathroom.
That a lot of people couldn't feel like that they could take a bathroom break because they were paid on.
Oh yeah. I think there's some lawsuits actually in effect for Amazon, if I remember correctly. And I think some of them were about women and saying that they didn't take the proper procedures when they were pregnant or something like that. Like they didn't respect the fact that they were pregnant and like try to make them work through like some of their pregnancy. Like from what I've read, I mean, it just blows my mind, but I don't know if this is going to make up for that. But I mean,
yeah, like you're like, oh, well, you have to work while,
yeah,
you're pregnant and everything, but you play games. Like,
ta-da, we have games.
Like, I don't know if that would make me feel any better about the situation.
I don't think it would make me feel a little, I mean, I guess I can understand, and it makes sense to me, just because the fact that sometimes like my mind gets fried when I work, and it can get very tedious doing whatever it is you're doing, be it development work or, packing up boxes. It's nice to kind of have a break from that and kind of get your mind off of everything to kind of re-energize your battery and then go back to work doing what you're doing.
Right. I agree. Because that's one thing I really do enjoy, at least that in America, that they do have, like, if you work more than 5 hours, you're legally required to have a 15-minute break, I think.
I think you're correct on that, actually.
It's like something like that. Or no, 30-minute break. I think it's 30-minute.
I don't remember. I know you have to take a break after 5 hours, though, of doing something.
Yeah, I think it's 5 hours. So if you work more, so like usually most companies will, if you find out that you're like, oh, I'm only working 5 hour shifts, not like without any breaks, that's wise, because they realize that that's the time block they can give you without any breaks legally. So I know that like whenever I would work as like a cook or something in restaurants, like fast food restaurants, obviously I'm not a chef, I would say. I'm back in the
chef Jemshi.
Yeah, I would just be back there making toast. That was like one of my main jobs.
What? You made did you butter the toast at least?
Yeah, like I would butter the toast and then that was me. So like if you ever like barbecue restaurants, when they have like the toast that they give alongside the meal, like I would literally do just the toast.
So you literally would just like, they go, here's an order, butter the toast. Then you'd be like, put it on there and then be like, done.
No, they would be like, all right, we need 2 more slices of toast. And then I just turn around and get it and then just put it, toast it, and then turn around and give it to them. And then they'd get mad because I wasn't making toast fast enough. And I was like, there's literally nothing I can do. Like, once the, there's no more room to make any more, I have to wait for it all to be
make toast faster.
I know. And then I'd be like, then I wouldn't, like, that was my problem with that job, is that I would toast it. And I was like, okay, well, I just won't toast it as long, right? And then I'll be able to make more faster.
Yeah.
And then, like, you're not toasting it long enough. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, just make a buttload of toast before, like, the orders come in, and then be like, now you're making way too much toast. Go over there and clean the dishes or something. Yeah. So that was all
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, that was my college job.
What other weird college jobs do you have?
I had a lot, actually, because I quit that one.
I mean, buttering toast isn't a great job. No offense. I mean, that sounds like a pain.
What was funny is that they started scheduling me for less hours, and
for buttering toast, like,
yeah, like I was like, what do you? I was like, I don't understand how I was like, I guess I just didn't make toast well enough, or I don't know. My performance was lacking apparently. And they just started scheduling me for less hours. So I was like, well, I need to still make something. Dude, so I started working.
How do they even like question you to come in and be like, apply for that job? You're like, hey, we need a toast butterer. Like, come and sign up. Is that how they got you?
No, my original role was to actually cook like everything. Like, I would put everything in the smoker and all that stuff, and like actually cook everything. And then I guess like just judging on my like skills with just toast,
they just were like, skills.
Yeah, they're like, this guy's nope, just go over there and wash dishes. Because I think the one time, because I had a big thing of ribs, and you're supposed to hold it from the underneath, but no one told me, so I just like grabbed it and like had my thumb like printed on the top. And then, like, this is like after you pull it out of the freezer, and then we're gonna put it in the smoker, so like this is not like while it's cooked. But like they already like had covered it with the sauce and everything, and I just like smacked my thumb down in the middle and just went.
Please tell me you didn't lick it. You're not denying it, so
I didn't tell you. No, that was like how I fed myself.
That's how you lost your job and became a toast butterer. I don't even know if I can look at you the same now.
No, I was just messing with
Oh, it's a good one, though. I'll tell you that right now.
I was at the low point, where people would like leave food on their plate, and I would be like, oh, that's a perfectly like buttered piece of toast that I didn't eat. And I made that.
Back to the butter toast.
So I would eat that. And then they'd be like somebody who didn't eat the corn or something. And I was like, all right. Just.
And then they made you toast butter. That's what happened.
I learned how to make nachos. I remember.
You gotta make me some nachos, man. I love nachos.
They had bags of chips. You just open it up, dump it into the plate.
And then smack cheese on top.
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome.
You get cheese, and then you get like the little brisket or whatever they got in there. Stick it in, hit 5 on the microwave.
You remember exactly what it was, 5.
And then if it was a large order, you just doubled everything and hit 6. Like, that's like all I remember how to do.
Button pushing here.
Yeah, I made nachos and I made toast.
Well, you worked your way up. Now you're hosting a podcast. Look at you.
Oh yeah, man.
Or co-hosting, I should say.
That hot and ready podcast for you.
Press 5 on this order, baby.
All right, so we're gonna press 6 now to go to our next topic.
Look at that transition.
I want to talk about the lawsuit that Tfue has. So I know that's like a pretty drastic change of topic, but this is a gaming relevant issue. So like, bear with me here. So we talked about, Twitch streamers and Ninja a lot, but another top streamer is also Tfue, which we've kind of undermentioned, I feel, on this podcast. And he's, up there with Ninja, kind of with competing numbers and number of subscribers and followers that are like his follower numbers is getting up there, like with Ninja.
Yeah.
But so where the lawsuit comes into play is that he's part of this gaming esports kind of organization called FaZe Clan. And to join this like organization, they had him sign a contract, kind of like a, business, contract or whatever. So like, okay, we're going to take a cut of like everything you make. Right. So kind of standard, like say you're an actor or something, you join like, some kind of agency or something like that. Like they find you, like you have an agent that will find you, movies, acting roles or something like that. They'll get a little bit of a cut. So that's kind of how this FaZe Clan would work, is that they would like help find sponsors. And then they'd also have like the network. Cause if you've heard of FaZe Clan, they also have a lot of other members in the FaZe Clan that all kind of live together or network
kind of
very heavily.
Like a dorm situation kind of thing. And
yeah.
They like game together and you kind of enjoy each other's company.
Right. And they call that like the clout house, because it's all the clout. So the reason that Tfue is like creating this lawsuit against the FaZe Clan is that he felt that his contract was very oppressive, and he was citing a certain parts of the contract that said that they would take 80% of any of like the sponsorship deals that they would give to him. And like
80%.
Yeah, think about that. Like that's he's not getting 80%. The contract, the FaZe Clan is getting 80%, which means he's only getting 20%. So let's say he gets a $10,000 sponsorship deal. Like that's probably about the range that he'd get at that like level. He's going to like only get what, 2,000?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where
it's unreal
that like, and that's like legitimately in the contract, because he kind of has like all these sightings. And then, so cause he's saying, hey, look, there's Ninja. He's not a part of any kind of organization like I am. And he made, what was it? The number? Oh, he made 10 million last year alone. Like from all the sponsorships, playing Fortnite and like all the others, like all his, revenue streams combined, like he made 10 million. And then Tfue's kind of like, I am getting a ton of my revenue taken from FaZe Clan, and I could be making 10 million if I wanted to, like he could be up there, but like the large chunk of it is being taken from him. And so he's trying to like leave this clan, and
he's locked into a contract.
Yeah, he blew up kind of like with them. Like he was with them, but then he kind of blew up on his own, just being like the highly skilled player that he is. And so he kind of feels like he's kind of outgrown this FaZe Clan. He doesn't need them anymore. So he's trying to leave the contract. And then they, do the predatory contract thing where they're like, oh, well, you can't leave, but we can make you sign a new contract. And he's just kind of like, that's not what he's like, that's not really what I want. I want to, just no contracts whatsoever. And I think, so the lawsuit is really kind of bringing up the fact that a lot of this isn't regulated, that, gamers and esports and stuff like that isn't regulated like actors and other artists are.
Yeah, because it's something new.
Right. It's an emerging field that has, people are still trying to figure it out. And I think that's kind of what this lawsuit is bringing to light, is that, hey, that there's a lot of these oppressive contracts out there. And of course, like the FaZe Clan is like a social media group. So like everybody in this clan is suddenly getting a bunch of hate because they're like, wow, like you're not going to let him leave and you're just going to like lock him into this predatory contract,
Yeah.
And they're like, we've only ever taken, maybe he's made millions, we've only ever taken like 60,000 or something out of like his millions, which like that's only a small number. And then they're like, and then like the, community and everybody that's like watching them like talk about this, like, hey, well, what about the 80% thing? Like you just completely ignored the whole reason why, because that's the thing is like, Ninja is sponsored by, Samsung, Uber Eats, and Red Bull. Like he's got all these sponsorships, and imagine if Tfue had something like that, he would get 80% of that revenue taken. He's not getting the full.
Awful.
Right. And like, that's the thing. He's just saying like, the reason you haven't taken all that money from me is that I don't want to take these sponsorship deals and not get anything out of it, Yeah.
Which is understandable.
So it's not about the fact that they haven't taken, because like there's like different amounts that they take, like, oh, they're only taking 20% on this part, we only take 0% on this, or 50% of this, like,
which is funny they don't talk about. They're like, oh well, we've taken just a little bit, but what they don't tell you is that he didn't take anything that's involved in that part of the contract. So no 80% was taken out just yet. He's probably he's doing something else that they're taking very small fractions of, because then the contract it probably states we'll take like 20% here, 10% here if you do this, this, and this. So
exactly. So that's the thing, is that it's like kind of catering his career, is that he's saying like, well, if I want to make money, I need to go the route that they're going to take the least cut, the smallest cut.
Yeah,
but that's the stuff that I'm going to do. So that's why they haven't made as much. But he's saying like, look at Ninja. I have the social media following to achieve what he's achieving, but I can't, and that's like they're saying. So like, I don't know. So I think the FaZe Clan is really getting a big hit. And I think they're also saying that there's like, because there are laws, because this is in like California is where it's based. There are laws in California for like a general vague like artist, agency kind of thing, like that FaZe Clan supposedly kind of is, related to. But the thing is that like, because there's no law really stipulating, gamers, it's like, well, are they under that law? Are they being illegal and creating these contracts?
What do you think?
I'm not too sure. I think the fact that it sounds to me like he can't leave his contract, which I think that's the part that seems a little illegal to me. Yeah. Just in the fact, 'cause I think that at every contract there's always the like a termination clause.
Yeah. If you're paying a fee or
some kind of fee or something like that. And the fact that he's unable to do that seems that's the part that seems a little oppressive and predatory to me, because like if like he's got the millions, like if he like the termination fee would probably be nothing to him at this point, and he's like, I literally can't even do that, like he probably would have left, because he's been doing this for like a year now.
I don't see it being so ironclad that he couldn't just leave. I mean, I'm sure there's something in there that like there has to be something that can get him out of that. I'm sure. I mean, he probably has to hire a really good lawyer, though.
Yeah, he's taking the lawyer route where he's, taking.
What else is there left? I mean, there's really nothing you can do.
Yeah, and then also the other half of this lawsuit.
Oh, there's other half. My goodness.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned before, the FaZe Clan has their own house and their kind of like own, community there where they can all network and talk to each other. So apparently Tfue has been like, hey, so this house is run kind of like a fraternity, like like a very, very like the stereotypical kind of fraternity, like frat house boys and stuff like that. And he's saying that like, oh, they're like pressuring people to do like these, outrageous stunts and, like underage drinking and stuff like that. And that's the thing that they're really kind of trying to also hit on as well, is that they're like, well, even though they're being predatory, they're also kind of, doing a lot of illegal things like beyond the contract to kind of show that this is the kind of environment that they're creating. And the thing is that this is one of the most well-known like gaming communities online. Like everyone's probably heard of some sort of FaZe Clan, or I don't know, you'll run across the name like every so often because somebody will collab with a FaZe member or something like that. So it's kind of like everybody's got their eyes on these people, and they're kind of showing that like this group is actually not as great as it seems, like,
and that's rough, man. Like I can understand attacking the agency that's locked you into this contract, but like by him doing that, in my opinion, or like come out and say like, hey, these like members are actually kind of forcing people to do things. I mean, let's be honest though. I mean, we've all been in the stage in our lives that we just kind of do things. I can understand some people do force people to do stuff, but I don't believe that, because in his career, he's been doing crazy stuff like that before. I mean,
it's not like, that's the one thing that I think that was a little strange to me, that even the FaZe Clan, like the official statement was kind of like, I don't think we've never really pressured you to do anything. Like even before you were a part of our clan, we have like videos on your own channel of you acting crazy and doing crazy stunts. So like,
there you go.
But like I can see like they're like, okay, you do have a history of doing that on your own. So like, we weren't the ones that pressured you. But then it's kind of like, maybe he was like, oh, I grew out of that, but here I am. And they're like, keep doing what you've been doing before. Like So like, there's always however you want to spin it, you know. It's just, I don't know. It's a really
tough.
interesting, like just the conflict that's been going on, you know, because then it's like if he plays in tournaments, they take percentages of that. And that's the thing, is like, he's like, well, I'm not going to play in tournaments because I'm going to not win as much. Like he'll play in some to kind of get himself out there.
Yeah.
But it's just the 80% of any brand deal, and the fact that he's like, I can't sign anything.
It's rough,
you know.
But you sign a contract. I mean, that's what sucks. But I mean, if you sign a contract and it states in the contract that's what it is, then that's what it has to be.
Yeah, like you kind of wonder. It's like, okay, well, you did sign the contract. It's not like it was a surprise.
Yeah,
it didn't come up to you later on. But I think it's also, I don't know. That's why I think it was like he probably thought the pros outweighed the cons. Like, oh well, I'll get, you know, bigger on social media. I'll get a bigger following because of this, and that'll be worth it. You know, 80% of them taking off of this is probably not going to matter. And then now that he's like, I would, you know, assume that he didn't even think that he would be this big, you know, that he'd be on Ninja's level.
I just assume he could have got ahead by using that clan in general, like as a platform to kind of grow in as an individual, you know, as a brand, and then kind of got stuck in it. And in my personal opinion, I think that like if someone writes a contract, I don't think there should be a law that states that any contract cannot be indefinite, that it has to have a time frame in which that it expires. That's because I feel like
there actually is some laws about that.
Is it?
Like a note,
but then how?
I think it depends on what, in what like field of work or something is.
Yeah, but I'm saying in all aspects of contracts, and as I'm saying this, just I don't know if is that the case.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's also that they know that. For me personally, if there was an indefinite contract that had no like termination clause or anything, I would be like there was no like or something. Like, I would just be a little wary. I'd be like, well, I don't ever sign this because like literally I have no idea like the next 20 years from now, like, am I still going to want to be in this contract, you know, or is this going to limit me on other things that I can do? And
I guess that spreads more awareness of people paying attention to contracts too. I mean, there's going to be a lot more streamers to come that are going to have to sign contracts, and they think that's a good move financially and for their career. But it depends on what the contract lists inside, that they could actually wind up really hurting their career later on down the road if they do become something bigger. So,
yeah, I don't know. It's just really weird that I think it's also just the fact that the response that the FaZe clan has had, like they've been like, oh, like we're the good guys. We've only taken this much money. We haven't done this or that. And then they're also like, oh, well, we never did take 80%. That's never happened. But it's like, that's the point is that it never happened because Tfue never wanted to. And then like,
yeah,
they're all like, oh, we've tried, you know, signing better contracts with him in response to his, you know, complaints, and he turned them all down. And I'm like, I don't know if that really makes it sound like you're the good guy, because then it's like,
no,
like whenever you're like, oh, so he came to me not wanting to be a part of FaZe Clan anymore, and I told him, oh, well, you can still be a part of FaZe Clan. I'll just make your, you know, deal better. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like you're not actually like responding to his.
Yeah,
his
it's like, I don't want to quit my job, and then they're like, you're still gonna be an employee, but we can give you a better contract. But like, no, I want to quit, and be like, don't think you do. I think you want to sign another contract actually to say that you're gonna be here for a while and we just get a little bit of money.
Yeah, because I think also, I can see being from Tfue's perspective is that they're like, oh, well, they signed a contract with me before I was this big. Now that I'm this big, my contract's going to be different. They're going to be like, hey, we're going to take a bigger cut now. Like everything that we said, like 10%, that's 20% now. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't think so. I think what they probably would end up doing is taking less of a cut, because he's going to be making so much more over time anyway. So they're going to be like, okay, well, that 80%, we're sorry. Okay, we'll take 40%. How's that sound? So you get most of it. But like even saying a $10,000 sponsorship, they get $4,000 of that 10. I mean, that's still a huge chunk, and I guarantee that's probably what they're gonna do is they're gonna be like, it looks better on them if they say like, okay, well, we scaled it back a little bit. Sorry, guys. Like, we're out of line.
They wanted to scale back to maybe like 20%.
Oh, they're gonna go that far back? I'm surprised.
Yeah, but it's like the thing is like the one thing I see with them is they're like, well, let's say every member would get like maybe $2,000 sponsorship. All right, they take 20% of that. That's what, 800?
Yeah.
That's not right.
No,
that's
no.
400. I think.
Sorry, I missed the math. Go ahead and say it again.
20% of 2,000. What is that?
Oh, that would be 400. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
I messed that up.
No, you're fine.
So that'd be like 400. But then say like Tfue, where they're taking like 20% to him, they're making like a $10,000 sponsorship or something. Take 20% of that. That's $2,000. So like they're from Tfue, they're getting 2,000 as opposed to 400 from another person.
Yeah.
So it's like. That's why they want to keep him. They're like, I'm not letting you go because we know that
he's a cash cow. You know,
like 20% from you pays 5 times as much as somebody else on the clan. I mean, that's an example that may not be accurate with the numbers.
Yeah,
but that's exactly
the idea is still there. Yeah,
is that's why they don't want to let him go, and that's what I think also feels predatory. Where they're like, we know you're making money, so 20% of whatever you make now is. Already that's less than 80%, but like you still see that they're like 20% whatever you make is already like I don't know. I see Tfue just moving on, kind of like Ninja, like he'll move on to that era, like era of his career where he's like, okay, now I'm a solo, I'm getting my own sponsorship deals and all that kind of stuff, because that's the thing I think he really wants is he has thousands of people watching him every day. And, a sponsorship of that level, I've seen, examples of, people giving out, like, this is how much they made. And they make, easily, $10,000 a day almost sometimes.
Yes,
like,
it's just ridiculous.
I know. And that's like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, that's what I'm missing out on, and I want to, like, why not? Like, if you don't need Face Clan anymore, like, leave so they don't, that extra 20% they would take is now in your pocket still.
Yeah.
So
can you imagine, man, if you couldn't, like, you're locked in a contract buttering toast? Like they're like instead of 80% of the bread we want you to butter, we're sorry, we don't want you to quit. We'll need you 20% of the butter. Like just 20% of the bread when butter.
That's the thing. It's like I just don't want to work here anymore.
Yeah, but like I grew up from that. I don't want to butter toast anymore. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, that's not the point.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was annoyed at, is that they would never let me cook anything. And, like, maybe rightfully so.
Are you a good cook?
I feel like so. If I have a recipe and I'm told how to make something, I'm a good cook. I'm not someone who can go into a kitchen...
Taste something and be like, it needs a little bit more pepper.
No, that's not me.
Yeah,
like,
not me
I'm
either.
a by-the-book recipe person. And one example I will give that is
oh boy,
a very good highlights my cooking skills. So I was in college, and we didn't have, like, it was me and my roommates, so it was like 4 guys, and we had no food left, and we were like, oh man, the kitchen's, the cafeteria is gonna open tomorrow, we can just go and eat food there, and we'll just hoard it, we'll take a couple of things back home here at the apartment so that we can make it a little bit better, because we didn't plan very well, food wise. So all we had left was, some potatoes, some rice, some M&Ms, and some slices of cheese. So me being like, all right, guys, I have the brilliant idea. Like, we have ingredients. Let's make a masterpiece.
Oh man, what was it?
So I made slices of cheese with M&Ms inside.
What? Already you kind of lost me, but go on, please.
That's it. That was it.
Wait. Slices of cheese with M&Ms inside.
Yeah, but then here's the kicker.
What happened to the... Did you say you had potatoes?
Well, that was the next meal.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's courses. Okay, I got you. You didn't say that there was courses. You said there was a meal. Usually in a meal is like
I
one.
got the slices of cheese with M&Ms, and I was like, well, this is kind of weird because like the M&Ms and the cheese, it's like all really cold, I'll put it in the microwave.
They play off the taste very well off of one another. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, okay, milk chocolate, and then cheese. Both are in the dairy group.
Yeah,
It's just
it makes sense.
it's just dairy, you know? So I thought, okay, well, I'll just like mix it together a little bit, put it in the microwave. So I heated it up for, maybe like 30 seconds, and I took it out, and I was like, all right, this smells, I don't have a good sense of smell, so I was like, all right, this is fine, probably.
This is edible, right?
And I think the thing is, my roommates just let me do this. Like, I'm sure they were like, all the whole time, just like, oh yeah, this is a great idea, And they did kind of question it, like, I don't know, I've never heard of anything with chocolate and cheese, And I was
I'm thinking, like, as you were saying that, I can't even think of anything that had chocolate and cheese. I'm like, what does have chocolate and cheese? And I should have took that as like a warning, where I'm like, if I've never heard of anything or tasted or seen anything with chocolate and cheese, there's probably a reason for it. But telling me that you never had chocolate covered cheese. I
got a good spoonful of this because like it melted, so I was like, okay, well now I can't eat it like a sandwich. Like I'll just eat it like
like soup.
Not really soup, because it was kind of just like a solid ill.
Oh, the M&M wasn't melted. You didn't crack the shell open, let it goop.
Yeah, they were all. It was all together in like a thing. So so I got a nice good spoonful, and I kid you not, I have never thrown up, spit up food faster in my life. Like as soon as I ate it, it just like out it went. Like,
is there a repeat of this? Like, I want to take a snapshot of this whole thing. And if we get bigger, and we get X amount of, whatever.
Like a milestone?
Yeah. Like if we get X amount of subscribers or something like that, I want to play this back and be like, we're going to eat Jemshi's, like, beautiful concoction of cheese and M&Ms. Yeah. Oh.
And it was funny because, like, I think my reaction was just so, like, over the top that, like, all my roommates were like, well, now I have to try it. Is it really that bad? And, like, everyone would... It's
kind of like those jelly beans that taste terrible, and, like, someone pops one in their mouth and they get, like, vomit, and you're like, oh, and they're like, is it really that bad? Let me try that. Is it really that bad?
Yeah. I'll tell you now, it's actually a lot worse than the vomit flavored.
We'll do that for Mouse Stone.
Think about it. You got some nice warm cheese and M&Ms. Like a spoonful, because it's like a
nacho. Can we put them in a chip? Like, can we do that? Like, I'll definitely eat it with a chip, like a nacho cheese, like
nacho cheese, and then sprinkle some M&Ms in there.
Yeah, and on a chip, I'd do it for sure. I do it. I think that'd be good. But you never told me what the final course was.
Oh, so the next thing was, I was like, all right, forget that.
Picture this.
So I, at the time I was in like the thing where I thought that everything that could be made in a blender was the best thing ever. So I made smoothies, milkshakes, and so like I was on like a mission where I was like, when I'm gonna drop out, I'm gonna make my own blender restaurant where everything in the restaurant is something you can make in a blender. Where all you got to do is kind of like like Froyo Chipotle, go down the line, grab all your ingredients that you want, and then they would dump it in a blender, turn it up, and then boom, here you go. And that would be like your meal, drink, or whatever.
Yeah, and drink it on the go.
Yeah, I was like, this is going to be the best restaurant ever. So I was like, why not start now and start experimenting with some different things that I could put together. So I was like, all right.
Okay.
Still on the same train of thought. I was like, okay, you got rice and potatoes. Those are both like kind of
starchy.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Starchy foods. Why not just mix them together, see what kind of things we get?
Okay.
So you could imagine, okay, putting a blender with just potatoes would have just been mashed potatoes. So
yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
And then you would mix in some rice, which is also another very starchy thing. And the funny thing is that I didn't wait for like, when you like mash potatoes, you don't like sit there and grind it forever.
Yeah.
But that's what I did. So I like set it in that blender, and I remember it was like churning, and it was like it couldn't spin fast enough because it was like that was how thick all the potatoes were. Oh yeah, because I think I didn't even I don't know if we even cooked the potatoes or rice or anything. Like no, we did. God. I think we did. Yeah, so we like got them so that they weren't just like hard potato. It was like we had the rice cooker, and then we had our potatoes, and we put them in there.
Of course.
And the thing was, like, I remember it just like came out, and it just looked like mashed potatoes, and I was like, all right, this is
good.
It's something, you know. Maybe we could put a little gravy on this or something next time, and it's gonna be amazing. And the thing was, since I ground that thing to like a pulp, like if that's like, it was just so thick. Like the mashed, like I guarantee you've never had mashed potatoes.
You never had Gypsy's mashed potatoes.
Because I just remember like we got a bowl of it, and this is the thing: we all hadn't eaten anything pretty much all, afternoon maybe. I don't know. We had pretty much like hadn't anything to eat. And we had just these bowls, and like just imagine like regular cereal bowl worth of this stuff.
Yeah,
I ate maybe like a couple bites, and I was full because like there was like that's what I'm saying. Like it was just pure food. Like there was nothing, no like
pure carbs,
air bubble or anything. And we like all were like, because it was like okay, it wasn't bad tasting because it was just rice and potatoes, but it was just like the fact that it was like so thick. Because I remember, like, you had to, like, get your spoon in there, and you're like, oh, man, this is already, like, a heavy piece of, like, heavy spoonful.
Yeah, oh, my goodness. I want to make this restaurant now. Oh, my God.
Yeah, so that's, like, the restaurant idea. Probably not bad. Maybe I need to not put potatoes on the...
Yeah, why don't you just add all 4 ingredients together and get, like, mashed potato rice with a topping of cheese and M&Ms, and boom, there's your golden ticket right there.
So we didn't okay, I don't know if I say we. It was probably just me, the one in the kitchen.
Yeah, okay.
My roommates didn't let me go that far, so...
They stopped you right there, like, Jemshi, you're better off buttering toast. I'm so sorry I beat this one dead to the... but this buttering toast thing.
Maybe the restaurant caught wind of that, and they were like, we're not letting him near anything, because he's going to start some great ideas. He's like, you know what? Like,
It'll be right with this piece of meat, just blending it in with some cheese and some mashed potatoes. We're make some mashed potatoes. My goodness, man.
Mix the corn and the... green beans in with the nachos. I got something.
What is their dessert of the day? Mint chocolate, you say? Why not mix that with cheese?
So actually, I'll throw this one out there. So I worked at Bandana's Barbecue. And one little fact that you may not know, so they have a pie of the day. And if you ask them, I guarantee you, every day it's going to be apple pie. Because they have literally nothing else.
I'm going to have to go and do that. And if they say...
I had to ask him, because I remember my dad, we'd gone there a couple times, like, man, every day I've come here, it's been apple pie. Like, what other pies do they have that, like, I'm missing out on? And then I worked there, and he's like, find out for me what else they have back there. And sure enough, all they have is apple pie.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell today on the episode of the podcast. We're going to talk about... games, and then today on the episode of the podcast we're talking about games, and this is the flavor of the week. Games, and then it's like, what else you guys got? We just got games. That's all we got.
I know. I was like, that's a good marketing tactic where you're like, oh, pie of the day happens to be apple pie, and it's like,
better get the pie of the day because maybe next time I come it won't be apple pie.
No, it's still apple pie.
Yep, no, joke's on you. That's why they had a contract with Apple Pie. They're like, Apple Pie, you're not getting out of this contract. I turn it back into the gaming talk, I tell you that. Look at those transitions. Sponsorships will be flying in for Apple Pies. You wait. Here it comes.
What's a great way to wrap up the podcast?
I know, right?
And thank you for listening to this episode of the Rad Gaming Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And rate and subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever else you listen to podcasts. We release a new episode every Wednesday and Friday. And as always, stay rad, comrades.